What's up, everybody? Jordan McAbee here, lead NASCAR analyst for RotoBaller. We are coming off the Circuit of the Americas race where William Byron put on an absolutely dominating performance, fastest in practice, fastest in qualifying, fastest in the race, led most of the laps in that race, grabbed his second win of the season. And if you listened to us last week, if you checked out our video, you were on some of the other guys that were very fast in that race. Ty Gibbs had a great race. Alex Bowman that we targeted early, great race. Same with Ross Chastain. Faded a little bit there at the end, but he was fast all day. His pit crew just let him down. We now moved on to Richmond Raceway, the Toyota Owners 400. Richmond is a 0.75 mile D-shaped oval. It is a flat track with high tire wear. Now this race is going to be on Sunday night, Easter Sunday race, first night race of the season. This is noteworthy because we have not had a night race at Richmond with this next-gen car. Practice is going to be on Saturday morning, so things are going to be a little bit different. Track conditions are going to be a little bit different for this race or for practice compared to this race. But at the same time, Richmond is a very predictable racetrack. We know who's good here. We know who's fast here. With that being said, the last seven Richmond races have produced 7 different winners. So while this race is predictable, we have not seen repeat winners here lately. Richmond, though, when we look specifically at the races in the next-gen car, last summer, Chris Buescher, he started 26th, ended up winning the race, just had an absolutely rocket ship in that race, led quite a bit there at the end. Last spring, it was Kyle Larson. He won it after leading 93 of 400 laps. Going back to 2022, the summer race, Kevin Harvick ended up in victory lane. Joey Logano dominated most of that race, leading 222 of the 400 laps. And then in spring 22, Denny Hamlin led the last 5 laps. Strategy came into play, but Denny Hamlin went to victory lane over Kevin Harvick in that race. Now, speaking of strategy, like I said, Richmond has a lot of tire wear, and this is where the strategy comes into play. Because when we get to that final stage, teams are going to have to make the decision whether they want to pit multiple times. It depends how many times they want to pit and how many times they're able to pit in that final stage. There's a huge difference when you put new tires on at Richmond. So you can pit and go a lap down and get in a hole and race your way back. There's that much time difference when it comes to new tires and old tires. But if you're fast enough on these old tires to have a gap between you, that strategy can work as well. So we do know the guys that should be fast this weekend. We just don't know how that strategy is going to come into play. When it comes into comparable tracks to Richmond, Phoenix is the best one to look at, which we just ran there earlier this month in March. We saw tire play come into play at Phoenix, which we normally don't. So that just increases the level of comparison that we have with Phoenix and Richmond. So Phoenix, very good comparison for Richmond this weekend. You know who was fast at Phoenix? Toyota. You know who has been fast at Richmond? Toyota. The early week favorites heading into a race weekend should be no surprise. Denny Hamlin sitting at plus 450 as the favorite heading into the Toyota Owners 400. He's a 4-time winner at Richmond, best average running position in this next-gen car at this racetrack. He's the only driver with 3 top 5s in the 4 next-gen races here. He led 68 laps at Phoenix back in March. Denny Hamlin is rightfully the favorite for this race. We can't talk short flat tracks without talking Christopher Bell. He is the co-favorite this weekend, also at plus 450 with Hamlin. 6th or better in 5 of the last 6 Richmond races. At Phoenix, he had an absolute rocket ship. And if they bring that car here to Phoenix or here to Richmond this race weekend, it should not be surprising if Christopher Bell puts on an absolute clinic once again. Now, looking at stats, Christopher Bell has never been great at Richmond. He's been very good. He just hasn't been great. But you look back at Phoenix, he never led a lap there until this year. And we saw how fast that number 20 Toyota was in that race. So Christopher Bell, short flat tracks. This is his track type. Rightfully so, the co-favorite with Denny Hamlin sitting there at plus 450. Now, both those odds are a little too short for me to bite. I'm not biting on those this weekend, but they're definitely going to be fast, and they're going to be guys that we're going to have to target in DFS and even betting, maybe after practice and qualifying, depending on how that goes. Now, also staying with Joe Gibbs Racing, Martin Truex Jr. is sitting at plus 700. He's led 50 or more laps in 9 of the last 12 Richmond races. This is a very good racetrack for Martin Truex Jr. He's won 3 of the last 9 races here. Second best average running position in the next-gen car at Richmond. This is just a great track for Truex. Again, I'm not betting him at 7-1. There's a little bit of value there, I think. I think Truex can definitely win this race, but not enough for me to bet him at 7-1. Still, though, should be a contender. Now, we've talked about guys that are very good here. We need to talk about one guy that is not great here. That is Ryan Blaney. He's sitting at 16-1. For whatever reason, he just has not figured out this racetrack. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I can't figure it out because Blaney has been great at Phoenix. It's one of his best tracks, and that is the most comparable track to Richmond. He's just not good here. 15 career starts. He has just 3 top 10s. He's only had 2 races ever here with a driver rating over 100. Right now, Ryan Blaney is in the prove it to me category. I will forever not like Ryan Blaney at Richmond until he can finally prove to me that he's good here and that he figures it out. That's just where I'm at. You know, he's shown that 2022 race where Denny Hamlin won on strategy and leading the last 5 laps. Ryan Blaney had one of his best races ever in that at Richmond. Led a bunch of laps from the pole, finished 7th. It's one good race, though. We have 15 races of his to see that he's not good here. So, yes, Ryan Blaney, defending series champion, just for whatever reason, is not very good at Richmond. So keep an eye on him. So we'll see what he does in practice. But right now, I don't like him at all. But you know who's good here? Who's in the same organization as Ryan Blaney? Joey Logano, sitting 22-1, which I think is worth a bet this week outright. And I get it. He's been awful this year. Logano's ran into a bunch of issues this season. His finishes haven't been there. The speed really hasn't been there. But here's the thing. He's really good at Richmond. 3rd best average running position in the next-gen car at Richmond. Finished 11th or better in 17 of the last 19 races at Richmond. His top 10 odds are sitting at plus 120 on Bet365. I highly recommend you bet that. I have already put several units on this bet. This is my favorite bet of the weekend. Joey Logano, top 10, plus 120. And if you can get it, Logano over Blaney, minus 114. It was at Bet Rivers yesterday. I haven't checked if it's still up. If that is available, go ahead and hit that. I really like that bet. I also like, speaking of another bet that I hit this week, was Chris Buescher over Ryan Blaney. All of that I tweeted out. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Make sure you're following me on the Action app. I track all my bets, let you know where I'm at, but those are 2 head-to-heads. And I don't like head-to-heads a lot. Those are 2 head-to-heads that I've already hit this weekend. Joey Logano and Chris Buescher over Ryan Blaney. Now, we've talked about Toyotas. We've talked about a couple Fords. What about the Chevys? William Byron sitting at 12-1. That's the only one that's really stuck out to me on the outright board as potential value. He's led 100 or more laps here in the last 2 spring races at Richmond. 2nd best average running position at the short flat tracks last year, plus Phoenix this year. I haven't bet it, but 12-1 is tempting. You know, obviously his teammate Kyle Larson has won here before, has shown speed. I'm not really on Kyle Larson in terms of his betting odds right now. I feel like everything's pretty much in line with these 2 guys, or with the Toyotas and with Larson. Byron sitting at 12-1, there's a little bit of value there, but again, I have not bet it. Staying with the Chevy camp, though, Austin Dillon, top 10, plus 400. Go ahead and bet that. I've locked that in. Here's the thing. Austin Dillon is really good at high tire wear racetracks like Richmond is. You look at his best tracks in terms of average finish: Homestead, high tire wear track; Auto Club, high tire wear; Darlington, high tire wear; Las Vegas, the highest tire wear of 1.5 miles, and then Richmond. Here at Richmond, he's finished 11th or better in 7 of the last 10 races. He finished 9th last fall. Austin Dillon, top 10, plus 400. Definitely worth a bet this weekend. Those odds should not be that long. Now, while we did not talk about Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, they can contend this weekend. Like we said, Buescher won here last fall. Both Buescher and Keselowski finished top 10 at Phoenix this year. Keep an eye on those RFK guys. We also didn't talk about Ty Gibbs. He ran 3rd at Phoenix. Toyotas should be super fast this weekend at Richmond. So always have to consider Ty Gibbs. But I do have Hamlin. I do have Truex. I do have Christopher Bell a step above Ty Gibbs heading into this race weekend. But we'll see what that practice and qualifying session does on Saturday morning and how that might change things. As usual, make sure you pay attention to RotoBaller.com, the best NASCAR analysis in the industry. Use code Jordan24. Get access to all my premium content, and we'll keep this hot streak rolling into Richmond this race weekend.